good morning, good afternoon or good evening, depending on what time you're doing this practice. Pure yoga and it's mindful movement. I would suggest that you get hold of something that has no flex in it. A strap, a yoga strap if you've got one, a dressing gown belt or a belt. We're going to be using that for a little bit of shoulder work. We are actually having a hands-free practice today. Well, I say a hands-free, a wrist-free practice. So there's going to be no downward facing dogs, no sort of slow vinyasas or anything in this practice. So it's all going to be away from the wrist. So really good if you have any wrist issues. So make sure you've got a strap, some water as well, and then bring yourself into a seated position. We're going to be doing some box breathing this afternoon or evening, depending what time you're doing it. Box breathing is when you think of a box and you take an inhale for a certain count, hold at the top for a certain count, exhale for a count, and retain at the bottom for a count. I'm going to do this for 4 with you. You can actually do it for 5 or 6 if you can hold your breaths at those lengths of times. You can also make your inhale longer if you need to be more energized, or your out breath longer if you need to find a little bit of restoration, a little bit of restore. So depending on your energy levels, you can use this whenever you like through your sort of life to help you either energize, restore, or just bring yourself to a calm. So if it's just about calming yourself down, keep the counts the same. If it's about energizing, longer inhales. If it's about restoring, longer exhales. So bringing yourself into a seated position, whatever is comfortable for you. Either that's in cross-legged or legs out in front with yourself propped up against a sofa or a wall, or maybe on your knees. Bring your hands then onto the tops of your knees. Take a close of the eyes and just take a moment to scan that body from the top of the head all the way down to the fingertips, all the way down to the toe tips, just checking in with how your body feels right now as you've arrived on the mat ready for practice. Trying to stay tall through the spine, reaching up through the crown of the head, but at the same time feeling grounded through the sit bones and those shoulders relaxed. When you've taken that mental scan of the body, having the eyes closed, start to concentrate on your automatic breath. Just noticing where that breath is sitting, whether it's high up in the chest, whether it's into the rib cage, or whether it's breathing already low into that belly. Just watching it, being a witness of it. If that breath is quite high up in the chest and around the collarbones, maybe try and send that breath now a little deeper into the lower ribs, expanding the ribs as you breathe in and contracting them as you breathe out, squeezing all that air back out of the lungs. And if you're already breathing quite well into the ribs, try and send it into the belly. Breathing in, letting that belly blow up like a balloon on the inhale, and on the exhale, squeezing that belly back towards the spine, contracting those abdominals as you breathe out. So the breath in, wherever that breath is, expands the muscles, and the breath out contracts to squeeze all that air back out. Take a nice long deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. This time in through the nose and back out through the nose if you can. In through the nose, back out through the nose. Starting the count, breathe in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, and hold, 2, 3, 4. In, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. In, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. In, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. In, keep the spine tall. 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Last one. 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Take a nice long deep breath in. Long sigh out through the mouth. Opening the eyes. As you breathe in, bring those hands all the way up to the ceiling. Palms come together at the top. On your out breath, bringing your left hand down to the floor, reaching over with your right hand, taking lateral flexion through the waist. Just a feather light touch through the hand. Breath in, come back to center, reaching the left arm up. On your out breath, right hand comes down, reach over to the right with the left hand, lateral flexion of the spine to that right side. Breath in, come back to center. Breath out, take it the other way. Bring those fingertips down, reach over with that right hand. Breath in, back to center. Breath out, over to the other side. Right hand down as you reach over with the left. Keep both sit bones nice and grounded. Breath in, bring both hands back up to the center. On your breath out, bring your right hand to your left knee, your left hand behind, and rotate to the left. Breath in, come back to center. Both hands reach up to the ceiling. On your out breath, take it to the opposite direction. Left hand to the right knee, right hand behind, rotate to the right. Breath in comes back to the center. Both hands come together and rotate again to that left side. Breath in, we come back to the center and we rotate to the right side. And hold it in that space just for a breath. Next breath in, both hands come back up towards the ceiling. As you breathe out, bring the hands to the knees. Send the center of the spine back towards the back of the room and tuck the chin in, draw the belly back. Breath in, lift up through that chest and take it into extension of the spine. Take it in these two places. Breath out, we curl in, center of the spine pushes back. Breath in, we lift up, and the center of the spine pushes forward. Do that a few more times, just articulating through flexion and extension. Just moving those backs mindfully through spinal articulation. Just a couple more times in both directions. Try and feel that space coming across the chest as you inhale. And then as you exhale, the space coming across the back of the body, sending that spine back. One more in both directions. Just getting that spine warmed up, ready for the practice. And then come back to a center space. Make your way onto both knees. So knees come under the hips. Shoulders stack over the hips. Bring those hands to the lower back. Knees hip width apart, tops of the feet flat. Push those hips forward, lift up through the chest, and just send the gaze up to the ceiling, taking it into that mini back bend. Holding it here for a couple of breaths. Then bringing those shoulders back over the hips. Release the hands by the sides of the body. Just swing the arms from side to side. Just take a little rotation from that back bend, just to neutralise that spine. Just let it be quite free. And then bringing those arms to stillness, bring the seat towards the feet, bring the top of the head onto the mat and take a hold of the heels. Holding those heels, push into the shins as you lift up the hips. Just a feather-light touch on the head, stretching through that back in the opposite direction to where we went into a back bend. Just holding it in this space for a couple of breaths. And then bringing those bums back down to the heels. And then bringing yourself again back up, hips over the knees, shoulders over the hips. Bring the hands to the base of the back. Push the hips forward, lift up through the chest, lift up through the gaze. Squeeze those shoulder blades together. Engage the bum, engage those glutes as you're pushing those hips forward to protect that lower back. Try and feel like you're lifting the lower belly up and tucking that tailbone down so we don't pinch that lower spine. And then just try and expand a little more through the upper part of the body. Thinking about that thoracic spine, the spine in between the rib cage. Holding the head, gazing up to the ceiling by the muscles in the neck at the front of the throat. And then bring those shoulders back up over the hips. Release the hands down by the sides of the body. Take a swing of the arms from side to side. Just notice how that just loosens off that lower back of the back bend. And then bringing yourself with those hands coming to stillness. Bringing the seat towards the feet. Bringing the top of the head onto the mat. Taking a hold of the heels of the feet. Then push into those shins. Lift up with the bum. Finding that stretch through the back of the body. Holding it here in this space just for a couple of breaths. A real feather-like touch through the head. Take the weight into those hands by pulling back on those heels. One more breath here. And then release those hips back to those heels. Reach the hands forward in front of you. Come onto the forehead and just stretch through those armpits. Just holding it in that variation of child's pose with the knees a little closer together than where they'd normally be wide. Just letting that chest sink over those thighs rather than to the inside of the thighs. Just taking a slightly different variation. Then coming back up onto the knees, bringing the hips over the knees, shoulders over the hips. Bringing your right foot through in between the hand, at the front of the mat. Bring the hands to the hips, reach up with your left hand and reach over to the right, taking some lateral flexion through that waist. Keep pushing into the top of the back foot, the sole of the front foot. Keep thinking about lifting up that lower belly, tucking that tailbone under. Creating that space down that left side rib cage and breathing into that space. Then bring those shoulders back central. Bring the hands to the chest, put the palms together. Then bring your left elbow onto your right knee. And turn and twist to that right side. So maybe you want to use that elbow, maybe you want to use that left hand and bring your right hand to the lower back to find a twist. Work with what feels most comfortable for you. Maybe that elbow being hooked over the right knee is a little too deep. Maybe you want that deepness of that rotation. Use that left elbow to anchor. Use the hands as the strength to twist that body. One more breath here. Then lifting those shoulders back over those hips. Bring the hands back to the hips. Bring your right knee back to meet the left. Then bring your weight onto your right knee and step your left foot through. You need to use the hands on the floor to bring it through. Feel free to do so. This time your right hand lifts up to the ceiling and we bend over to the left side. This time we're creating space down that right side rib cage. Lower belly's lifting, tailbones tucking. We're pushing into the top of the back foot and the sole of the front foot. As you're reaching up with that right hand, try and let that right shoulder come back towards that right hip. Keeping that core engagement in the centre of the body. Lateral flexion through that spine, so we're moving that spine in different planes of movement as we take these poses. Lateral flexion here, then bring that right hand back to the hip. Bring both hands together, palms together. So choice to take that right hand onto the left knee and the left hand behind, or the right elbow to the left knee and both hands come together at the centre of the chest. Trying to encourage the thumbs in between that sternum, that upper part of that rib cage. Using the right arm to anchor if you're hooking, and the hands as the strength. Pushing strong still into both feet so you find that stability and that grounding to the floor. And that rotation comes from the waist and the hips stay facing that front edge of the mat. Holding it in this space just for another couple of breaths. Then bring yourself back around. Bring your hands to your hips. Bring your left knee back to meet the right. Bring the hands to the lower back. Take extension of the spine, pushing the hips forward, squeezing the shoulder blades together, gazing up to the ceiling. Tuck that tailbone down, lift the lower belly up. Feel that stretch along those hip flexors as you push those hips forward. Maybe you feel a little stretch into those thigh muscles. Easy breaths. And then bring those shoulders back over the hips. Release the hands. Take a swing of the arms from side to side, again just to neutralise that back. Then bring those arms back by the sides of the body. Bring the seat to the feet. Bring the hands onto those heels, tops of the head onto the mat. And then lifting up through those hips. As you send the hips high, you stretch that lower back. The opposite direction to that back bend, taking it into that flexion, that forward fold. Feather light touch through the top of the head as you hold those heels. And then release those seats back to the feet. Bring the shoulders back over the hips, then bring the hips over the knees and find yourself in that kneeling position. This time bring your right foot through, in between the hands. Take a hold of your strap and get that strap nice and open. Widen the hands as much as you can so you can bring that strap up and over the head. So take a breath in, raise that strap up to the ceiling. On your breath out, release that strap back to the lower part of the body at the back. Your breath in, raise that strap back up. Breath out, bring that strap back to the thigh of the right. Breath in, raise that strap up to the ceiling. Breath out, lower it back to the lower part of the body. Breath in, raise. Breath out and release. We're going to do one more of these. Breath in, raise. Breath out, release. Breath in, raise it up. Breath out, bring it back to that right thigh. Okay, so bringing your right arm up to the ceiling, bringing your left hand behind the back, start to bring that hand up towards that right hand. So we're getting that stretch through that right tricep and we're taking a little internal rotation through that left shoulder. So the aim is trying to bring those fingertips as close towards each other, walking that left hand up the strap if you can, holding it in this shoulder extension, internal rotation, just for a few breaths. Trying to get a little mobility around those shoulder sockets, stretching through the muscles through the upper arms, taking them into internal rotation, taking them into flexion as you raise that right elbow up by the side of the ear. One more breath here. Then release that strap to the floor. Bring your right knee back to meet your left knee. Bring the hands to the lower back. Push those hips forward, lift up through the chest, squeeze the shoulder blades together, lift the lower belly up and tuck that tailbone under, taking it into that back bend, taking extension of the spine, holding that neck in that position by using the muscles in the throat. Then bring those shoulders back over the hips, release the hands, just have a swing of those arms from side to side so we get that little rotation through the spine here. And then bringing those hands to a still position, bring the bum towards the heels, hold on to the heels, tops of the head onto the mat, and then lift up through the hips. Put the weight into the top of the head very slightly, but take most of the weight into the hands as you hold on to those heels. Bring those bums back down to the heels. Shoulders over the hips, bring the hips back up over the knees, hands to the hips as you step your left foot through. Take a hold of that strap again. Widen the arms as much as you need to so they come up and over the head. Push into the sole of the left foot, top of the right foot. Your breath in raises those straps up to the ceiling. Your breath out, bring those straps back to the bum. Breath in, raise. Breath out, release. Breath in, raise up. Breath out, release. Breath in, lift. Breath out, release that strap to the thigh. 2 more of these. Breath in, lift. Keep that core center strong. Breath out, release. By drawing those ribs and hips towards each other, breath in, lift. Breath out, release. Just 1 more of these on this side. Breath in, lift. Breath out, release. Breath in and lift. Breath out and release. This time bring your left hand up, bring your right hand behind, take a hold of the strap. Bend into the left elbow and walk that right hand up as close as you can towards that left hand. Feeling that stretch through that tricep muscle. That shoulder's gone into flexion. The right shoulder's gone into internal rotation. Finding a little mobility through those shoulders as we move them around. Finding some strength. Holding it here just for another couple of breaths. Remember, you can pad the knees if it's a little strong on the knees. I did forget to say that at the start. And then release out of that stretch. Bring that strap down to the floor. Bring your left knee back to meet the right. Bring the hands into that lower back. Lift up with the chest. Push the hips forward. Squeeze the bum. Put the tailbone pointing down to the ceiling, down to the floor, and the gaze up to the ceiling and squeeze those shoulder blades together. And then lifting back up, release the hands, just give your arms a little swing from side to side, find that neutralization of the spine. And then bringing those arms to a still position, bring the seat back towards the feet, take a hold of those heels, bring the tops of the heads onto the mat. Then lift up through the hips, stretch that lower back as you hold on to those heels for support. Feeling the stretch through those rhomboid muscles between the shoulder blades, through that lumbar spine at the lower back, that thoracic spine in the upper back, and through that neck of the cervical spine. Then bring those heels back to the seat, shoulders over the hips. Hips come over the knees. Then step your right foot through. This time bring the hands onto the top thigh, tuck the back toes under and lift up that back knee. Bring your right hand onto the right hip. You can keep that back knee down if you wish in this one. Same thing, but with just back knee lifted. Reach up with the left hand, lateral flex over to the right side of the room. So trying to push that left heel back to straighten that left leg, engaging that upper thigh on that left leg to straighten through that knee. The right knee stays bent and we push nice and strong into the sole of that right foot for stability. And we try and keep a little lift of this lower belly to protect this lower back. Lateral flexion through the waist on this side again. Try and let that left shoulder relax as you reach up and over with that left hand to the right side of the room. One more breath here in this space. Then bringing those shoulders back to the centre, bring the palms together. We're going to either take the left hand to the right knee or the left elbow to the right knee. Bring the hands together at the chest if you've hooked the elbow. If you've actually taken the hand to the knee, bring the right hand to the lower back and find that rotation, which is a little more gentler. Wherever you've taken this, try and feel like you get that stretch down that left side of the back. Hips stay neutral to the front edge. Shoulders turn to the right. They've just come along from the journey of the rotation of the waist. Holding in this space just for one more breath. Then bring yourself back centre. Bring the hands back to the hips. Drop the back knee. Untuck the back toes. Bring your right knee back to meet the left. Bring the hands onto the lower spine. Lift up through extension, squeezing the shoulder blades together. Take it into a little back bend. Obviously this back bend goes to wherever you wish it to go to. You don't have to go too deep if it feels a little tight. And then lift those shoulders back over those hips. Release the hands down by the side of the body. Just swing those arms, swing those shoulders. Find that rotation. Keep the hips facing forward. Then bring those arms back to stillness. Bring your seat towards your feet. Take a hold of the heels, tops of the head on the floor as you lift the hips, stretching through the back of the body, taking it into its opposite direction of back bend, into that fold forward. One more breath here. And then release those hips back to the feet. Shoulders come over the hips. Hips come over the knees. This time we're going to step your left foot through. Bring the hands onto that left thigh. Tuck your back toes under and lift your back knee. Stabilise into the floor, pushing into the feet. Left hand comes onto the left hip. Right hand reaches up to the ceiling. Lateral flex over to that left side, stretching that right side body. Feeling that rib cage. Feeling the expansion on that right side, stretching through those intercostal muscles, the muscles that move when the breath is taken, alongside that diaphragm that pushes down on your inhale and lifts up on your exhale. Holding it in this space, squeezing that right heel back, engaging the upper thigh on that right leg to straighten that right knee. Using the muscles in the quads on that left leg as we keep it bent. And try and lifting up with that lower belly, tucking that tailbone under. Bring yourself back central. Then bring the hands, either palms together. And then bring your right elbow or right hand onto the left knee. If you're taking the right hand, take the left hand behind. If you're hooking that right elbow, bring both palms together. Keep the hips neutral to the front edge of the mat. Try not to drop into that right hip. Hips are facing forward, shoulders are facing to the left. Try and tuck that right shoulder under, turn that left shoulder to lift and stack over that right. Holding it in this space for a few breaths with that rotation of the spine. So you're obviously seeing that we're taking lateral flexion, we're taking rotation, we're taking extension and flexion, taking that spine in all its different movements as we hold that pose, using all planes of movements as we move in and out of different spaces. Your next breath in, bring those shoulders back over the hips, place the hands maybe on that left thigh. As you drop that back knee, untuck those back toes, left knee comes back to meet the right. Bring your hands into your lower back, push the hips forward, tuck the tailbone down, lift the lower belly up, lift up through the chest, lift up through the gaze. Hold with control as you take it into the back bend. Maybe squeeze of those rhomboid muscles in between those shoulder blades. Bring that shoulders back up over the hips, release the hands down by the side. Have a little swing of the body from side to side, just to find that neutralisation through that spine. As you've noticed, we've still not gone onto our wrists, so having that wrist-free practice. And then bringing them to stillness, bring the seat to the feet, bring the hands onto the heels, tops of the heads onto the mat. Then lift up through those hips. Hold on to the heels as you stretch that long length of spine from the top of the head all the way down to the tailbone. And then let those sit bones come back to the heels. Shoulders come over the hips, hips come over the knees. Step your right foot through. Take a hold of your strap. Place the hands on the right thigh, tuck the back toes under, lift up through that back knee. So we find high lunge legs first, right knee bent, left leg straight. Find the length of the strap that you need to bring those hands up and over. On your breath in, raise up with the hands. On your breath out, release those hands to the lower back. Breath in, raise. Breath out and release. So we have 3 more rounds of this. Breath in, lift. Keep that centre of the body nice and controlled, nice and strong in the core. Try not to flare the ribs as you raise the hands up. Bring the hands back to that thigh 2 more times. Raise. Keep pushing energetically into that mat as you hold this space. Lift up. Feel that movement of the shoulders as you take them into extension, take them into flexion. This is the last one. Lifting back up, releasing back to the thigh. Reach up with your right hand, bring your left hand to take a hold of that strap, bend your right elbow, let the fingers walk up that strap, holding it in that space. Try and draw the rib cage back, try and reach that right elbow back as far as you can to get that full flexion of that right shoulder. The left hand going as far up the back to meet the fingertips of the right to get that internal rotation of the left shoulder. Holding it here just for another couple of breaths. Right knee stays bent, left leg stays straight. Engagement through that corset part of the body, rib and hip tether. Then release that hands, release the strap, just place that strap down by the left side of the mat. Bring the hands back onto that right thigh, drop the back knee, untuck the back toes, bring your right knee back to meet the left. Knees come hip width apart, bring the hands to the lower back, lift up through extension, pushing those hips forward, squeezing the bum to control where those hips go, squeezing the shoulder blades to create that space at the front of the chest, using the neck muscles to hold the head in this space. One more breath here. Then lifting the shoulders back over the hips, release the hands, have a swing of those arms, take a little rotation. Bring the hands to stillness, the seat to the feet, bring the hands onto the heels, tops of the head onto the mat, lift up through the hips, stretch the back chain, push into those shins maybe to lift those hips higher, but just try and take the weight through the hands by holding the heels. Release those bums back down. Bring the shoulders over the hips. Bring the hips over the knees. Step in your left foot to the front. Hands come on to actually take a hold of the strap. Then bring your hands onto that left thigh, tuck the back toes under and lift up the back knee, pushing the right heel back, pushing into the sole of that left foot. Reach out the hands to the width of the strap where they need to be to take them up and over. Breath in, lift. Breath out, release. Breath in and lift. Breath out, release to the front. 3 more rounds of this. Breath in, lift. Breath out, release. Breath in, lift. Breath out, release. So still find that stability into the floor. Try not to flare the ribs as you lift the arms. So this is the 3rd round coming to a finish. 1 more round, lift those arms. Relax them back to the back of the body. Lift the arms back up. Relax them back to that left thigh. Left hand lifts up. Right hand comes behind the back to hold on to the strap. Bend into that left elbow. Walk the right hand up that strap towards those left fingertips. Keep bent into that left leg. Keep straight through that right leg. Feel that stretch through the tricep of that left arm. The internal rotation of the right shoulder. Walking the right hand up a little further if you can. Try and keep that stability. Keep that core center engagement, rib and hip tether. Holding it just for another couple of breaths. Then releasing the hands, release the strap to the floor. Bring your hands back onto the left thigh, drop your right knee down and tuck those toes. Bring your left knee back to meet the right. Bring the hands onto the lower back. Lift up through the chest, push the hips forward, squeeze the bum, use the stretch of the front side of the body, the contraction of the back of the body. Then lift those shoulders back over with the hips. Bring the hands down by the side, just take a little rotation, bring some neutralization. Bring those arms to a still position, bring the seat to the feet, take a hold of the heels, tops of the head onto the mat as you lift those hips, bringing yourself into stretch of that posterior chain. Then release those bums back to those heels. Come onto the knee position, bring the knees together. If you're happy to stay in this space for a couple of breaths, we're going to do a couple of box breathing circles, box breathing squares. So we're going to breathe in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4. First of all, take a long deep breath in. Long sigh out through the mouth. Then using the nose only, breathe in. 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. Last one, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. Take a long breath in and a long sigh out through the mouth. Coming up onto the knees. Stepping your right foot through, bring your hands onto those thighs. Tuck the back toes under, lift at the back knees, squeezing that left heel back towards the back of the mat. Then drop that left heel down, find warrior two, arms out wide, palms facing down, and hold it in this space just for a couple of breaths, sinking into those hips, pushing into the feet. Right knee turning out to the right edge, so we get that stretch on the inner right thigh. The hip on this left side is opening out to that left side of the mat, but the thigh is slightly internally rotating as we push into the outside edge of that left foot. From this space, bring your right forearm onto your right thigh. Reach that left arm up and over towards the front of the room. And as you reach up, try and let that left shoulder come back to that left hip. Think about tucking the right bum cheek under and turning that left hip out. Holding it in this space for a couple of breaths. Try and keep a bent right knee, a straight left leg. Try and relax the shoulders, but lengthen up through that left arm. Try not to put too much weight into that right forearm if you can. Easy breaths in and long breaths out. Then bring those shoulders back over the hips. Find your warrior two space. And then bring both hands onto that right thigh. Come back onto the toes of the back foot. Drop the back knee and tuck the back toes. Bring your right knee back to meet the left. Bring the hands into the lower back. Push the hips forward. Lift up through the chest. Squeeze the shoulder blades together. Remember, protect that lower back by lifting the lower belly up. And then bring those shoulders back over the hips. Release the hands. Take a little swing of those arms from side to side. Bring those hands then to stillness. Bring the seat towards the feet. Take a hold of the heels, tops of the head onto the floor. Stretch that back chain by lifting the hips, holding onto those heels. Feather-like touch through the head. Then bring those bums back to the heels, shoulders over the hips. Hips then come over the knees. Stepping your left foot through. Hands onto that thigh of the left leg. Tuck your back toes under. Lift up your back knee. Squeeze that right heel back. Then drop that right heel. Turn the hips and shoulders. Find warrior two. Arms out T-shape. In line with the shoulders. Palms facing down. That left knee squeezing out to the left side of the mat. And we're pushing strong into both feet to stabilise. Try not to let that lower back arch too much. Lift up that belly. Push that tailbone down. Reaching as much as you can forward and back with both fingertips. Feel like someone's drawing you to the front and the back of the room with both arms. Then bring that left forearm onto the top of the left thigh. Reach the right arm up and over. Create that space down the left side of the waist so we're not just collapsing over. We're creating some length through the spine. Pushing energetically into the feet, tucking that left bum cheek under, turning the right hip out. Right shoulder stacking on top of the left. Feather-like touch through that left forearm. Relax that right shoulder back towards that right hip. Holding in this space just for another few breaths. Taking that side angle stretch. Long line from the right fingertips down to the right outside edge of the right foot. One more breath in this space. Then lifting those shoulders back over the hips, palms face down. Find warrior two. Then bring both hands onto that left thigh and come onto the toes of the back foot. Drop the back knee. Untuck the back toes. Left knee comes back to meet the right. Hands in that lower back. Lift up in extension of that spine, pointing the chest to the ceiling, squeezing the shoulder blades back, gazing up towards the ceiling or the light. Then bring those shoulders back over those hips. Release the hands down by the side. Take a swing of those hands and shoulders. And then bringing them to stillness. Bring the seat to the feet. Tops of the heads onto the mat. Lift up through the hips. Hold on to the heels. Stretch through that spine. One more breath here. Then releasing the sit bones back. Shoulders come over the hips. Bring the hips over the knees. Step your left foot forward. Step your right foot forward into a standing position. We're going to take a standing balance here. We'll be taking tree but moving our limbs around. So if you want to just hold it with prayer position, feel free to do so. I'll be mirror imaging you here. So bring your weight into your right foot. Take a bend into your left knee. Turning the knee out. Either find a place for that left foot on the inside of the shin or up above the knee but not across the knee. Once you've found a place for the legs, keeping that left knee turned out, hips facing forward. Once you've found the legs, maybe find the hands, palms together in the centre. Engage through the forearms, biceps, triceps. And just find a focal point here. Something that's not moving in front of you. Feeling the right glute switch on to hold that standing right leg. Then reach up with the hands if you're coming with me. Moving those limbs out a little longer. Trying to keep that balance. Nearly lost it myself there. Hold it with arms high. And then bring the arms down to a T shape. Palms facing down. Then bring the hands behind the back. Take an interlace of the fingers at the bum. Push the hands down towards that right foot. Squeeze the shoulder blades together. And create a little space at the front of that chest. One more breath in this space. Then release the hands. Bring the arms back out in front. Shoulder high. Your left arm goes under the right. Take a bend into the elbows. Just bring those hands on top of the shoulders as you raise those elbows up so they're just below the eye gaze, in line with the shoulders, just stretching through the back of the body. Holding it in this space just for a breath, still maintaining that left knee turn out, external rotation of that left hip. Finding and feeling those muscles in that standing right leg. Release the hands to the hips, release that left foot to the floor and take a little paddle through those feet. So whatever we do on one side, always do on the other. Bring your weight this time into your left foot. Take a bend into your right knee and turn that knee out. Find a place for that foot, either on the inside of that left shin or on the inside of that left thigh. Once you've found that leg position, bring the hands back to the chest. Wherever that right foot's being placed, push it into either the thigh or the shin and resist with that opposite leg. Palms come together, push into those palms. Choice to stay here if you wish, with engagement of those arms. If you're coming with me, raise the hands up to the ceiling, lifting up through those arms, relaxing through those shoulders. Then taking those arms out to a T shape, palms facing down. Then bring those hands behind the back, take an interlace of those fingers, push those hands down to the floor, squeeze the shoulder blades together, create the space through the chest. Then release those hands, bring them back round in front of you, shoulder height. Then bring your right arm under the left, bend the elbows, bring the hands onto the shoulders, lift the elbows up to shoulder height, just in front of the eye gaze, still trying to hold that balance. It's definitely my unstable hip on this side. Always feels a little less controlled, a little less balanced. Never mirror image. We can be different from one side to the other. One more breath here. Then release those hands to the hips, releasing that right foot to the floor. Take a paddle through those feet. Then bringing those feet out to the width of the mat, toes off, the heels slightly on. Bring the hands together at the chest and start to bend into those knees as we start to bring those bums down towards the floor into that yogic squat. And whilst we're in this position, we're going to take another round of box breaths. So closing the eyes, take a long deep breath in. Long sigh out through the mouth. Breathe in. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Out. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. In. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Out. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. In. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Out. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Take a nice long deep breath in. And a long sigh out through the mouth. Bringing yourself back to a seat. Then bring the legs out long to the front of the mat. Maybe just give those legs a little paddle. And we're just going to take ourselves slowly down to the floor with the arms out shoulder height, using a little core strength as you release yourself back to the mat. Nice and controlled as you take yourself down. Use that core strength to keep that controlled movement and those long limbs to help. Once you've made your way to the floor, just bring the arms out, T-shape, take a bend into both knees. Just windscreen wipe those legs, going over to the right side, back to the centre, over to the left side, back to centre, back over to the right, over to the left, and come back to the centre. Bring the feet hip width apart, bring the hands down by the side of the body, taking a couple of rolling bridges. Breath in, lift the hips, squeeze the bum, knees not coming any further than hip width apart. Breath out, slowly let those bums come back down to the mat. Breath in, lift. Breath out and release. Breath in, lift. Breath out, release. One more time, breath in, lift. Breath out and release. Bringing the legs out long to the ends of the mat. Bring the arms up and over the head, interlace the fingers. Take the feet over to the right side, the hands over to the right side, stretch that left side of the body. Bring the feet over then to the left side, the hands over to the left side, and stretch that right side body. That banana moon shape on the floor. Both sit bones grounded, both shoulders grounded. Just taking that arc through the body. Come back to centre. Release the hands back up and over, down by the sides of the body. Let the feet come mat width apart. So choice to come into the normal Shavasana place, Or if you wish to take butterfly legs, feet together in the centre, knees dropping out to the side. Or if you wish to take that slight internal rotation of the hips, knees stay together in the centre, and we heel toe the feet out to the edges of the mat. Wherever your favoured relaxation position is, find it now. Make sure the back of the head's comfortable. The lower spine isn't too arched. Just take a moment here. Find that space. Close the eyes. Soften the jaw and the forehead. Let the tongue drop away from the roof of the mouth. Those lips gently part. Shoulders relaxed, hips relaxed, upper limbs and lower limbs. The spine and around the rib cage and the belly and the hip flexors. And those sit bones, everything relaxed. Fingertips, toe tips. Bring your attention then to the lower part of the spine and visualize the colour red. Bring your attention then to that place between the pubic bone and the belly button, thinking of the colour orange. Then that space between the belly button and the lower ribs, visualizing the colour yellow. That space between the rib cage and the throat, the heart space, visualizing the colour green. And that space of the throat, visualizing the colour blue. That space between the centre of the forehead, the third eye, visualizing the colour purple. And bringing the awareness to the crown, the upper part of the body, the head, visualizing the colour white, gold or pink. Take a nice long deep breath in. Long sigh out through the mouth. Choice can be either to stay here in relaxation. Feel free to pause me now. Or if you're coming with me, starting to wriggle those fingers, wriggle those toes. Maybe rotating the wrists, rotating the ankles. If you wish to take that full body stretch, stretching the hands up and over the head, stretching through the fingers, the toes, maybe arching into that lower back. Then bringing those hands back up and over, bringing the knees in towards the chest. Give those knees a hug, maybe a rock of that body from side to side. Massaging that spine, thanking it for practice. Then either rolling onto your left side or rocking up and down that spine if you have a little more energy. Wherever you are, either take a couple of breaths on the side, or once you've come up a few times rolling, whenever you're ready, find yourself in your favoured seated position. Placing the hands on top of the thighs, keeping the eyes closed. Tall spine, relax through the shoulders, relax through the neck. Your next breath in, bring those hands up and over the head, bring the palms together at the top. Then bring the hands to the chest, soft gaze to the floor. Have peace in your thoughts, have peace in your words, have peace in your hearts. Breathe in wisdom and peace. Breathe out love and joy. Namaste.